What's going on, everybody? Welcome to what is going to be my first album review on the channel. Today, I'm reviewing an album that is very dear to my heart, and it's Pierce the Veil's A Flair for the Dramatic. Now, Pierce the Veil is a different group than any of you probably care about, because it's very different than what my friends watch, or listen to, not watch. Pierce the Veil is a post-hardcore band, at least they specialize in it, out of, I believe, the San Diego area. It's technically Spanish American, although they don't, or it's not Spanish American. Um, it's Mexican American actually. But I say Spanish as in like sometimes they don't even really use it in the songs, but sometimes they'll like occasionally they'll like have like maybe one of the song titles be in Spanish or something like that. Um, and their roots are from, I believe, a Latin country. I don't believe it's from Spain. I could be wrong. Maybe I'll get fact checked, and maybe I'm wrong. But they do have a bigger following than most post hardcore bands, and that really came out of the hardcore scene in the 90s. A Flair for Dramatic came out in 2007, and for me at least, it became an album that I think many definitely like sleep on. If you're a Pierce the Veil fan, you sleep on this. Okay, it is what it is. Hopefully, this gets recommended to Pierce the Veil fans and not just fans of the music that my friends listen to. But in whatever case, I mean, I'm happy you're here. I think that if you are to listen to this album, you will enjoy it. I think that the album kind of goes through a couple of stages. The first stages are like the first four songs, and I think they all kind of have the same kind of energy. They're very high energy. The first song's a little less higher energy. It's a good opening song though, and it's called "Chemical Kids and Mechanical Brides," and it's probably the best song on this album. If I'm being straight up with you, probably the best song on this album. Um, it doesn't really get much better than um uh that song. I feel like this best song on this album is probably the first song, but it doesn't mean the rest of the album isn't just bad. I think it really gets to be a little bit worse around the midway section, where you listen to songs such as "The Cheap Bouquet," "Falling Asleep on a Stranger," even the balcony scene. I don't think any of those songs are. Those are all mid, very very mid. And I even think at the end, "Wonderless" is like not really that good. The message of "Wonderless" is very good, which is basically that you shouldn't leave like your significant other just for fame, because it's kind of like warning you against that. The album itself, of course, like most Pierce the Veil albums, kind of has a depressing outlook. You can kind of make assumptions that maybe some of them don't as much, but this story doesn't really. I mean, this album doesn't really have a huge narrative structure. If you had to come up with one, it's probably about someone who doesn't really want to be with someone, and then obsesses over that person, and then eventually leaves them for fame. That's probably the best I can get out of it. Now, the album itself, like I said before, it's about 40 minutes long. Its main genre is post hardcore, but also falls into the emo, experimental rock, progressive rock categories, um, which I think it suits. I think all of those probably suit where this is. I describe it as post hardcore, um, just because I know what that kind of sounds like. Maybe it's a little bit more metalish, like more metal than poster, because post hardcore is still rock. It does kind of blend between rock and metal, but it is mostly rock. Um, and this kind of transcends that plane and makes it a little bit more metal. There's a lot more screaming in this album, that's for sure. But I think the vocals, it's definitely appealing to a certain audience. Me being that certain audience, but I think if you've listened, I would not recommend this as your first Pierce the Veil album. I think Selfish Machines is much better than this, which we will cover next time. But I do think this is a good. I mean, this is their first album. It's also the only album to feature Vic and Mike Fuentes alone, just them. Mike plays the drums. He's not in the band anymore, but he used to play the drums for the band. And Vic is still the singer, and they are brothers. I think I mentioned that, but they're brothers. Vic's older, if that matters. Anyway, Vic's the lead singer. And this is also at a period of time where he also didn't really sing. He kind of mentions later on that by the third or fourth album, he actually has a voice, but he wasn't born with like a really really good singing voice, so he had to like train himself to actually learn how to sing. So, especially in the first album, even a little bit the second album too, you'll notice that his vocals are not always amazing, and that's mostly just because he doesn't even really know how to sing like well. He's not gifted with that voice. The drums are always fine, and I think Vic plays guitar here as well, just because they don't have guitarists. Um, Jaime and Tony eventually join as well. Tony Perry, Jaime Preciado. I don't know how to pronounce his last name. But they eventually join. Jaime's on bass and Tony's on just regular electric guitar, lead guitar. Um, anyway, if I had to rate the album, I'd probably give it a 6.5 or 7. I'm gonna go with a light 7. A very like a you know when you're having those like lightly salted Lay's potato chips? It's like that's the light I'm talking. Like it's basically no salt, but they still say it on the package because if they said no salt, no one would buy it. And it's like 50% less fat. There's 50% less meat to it, less good stuff. We all know that the classic Lay's taste better. Okay, you don't have to. I know it's worse for you, but you kind of cut off some of the good parts of the album. I think the first four songs, like I said before, are really really good. I think there are good songs throughout. I think Drella is very good. I think She Sings in the Morning is very good. Um, but past that, I think the album suffers from a lack of like just. It feels like sometimes they just run out of ideas. Also, at the end of the album, on an iTunes bonus edition, that sounds so 2007. They also had a cover of "Beat It" by Michael Jackson, which I don't know. It's a decent song. "Beat It's" a yeah. Most rock bands do that for some reason. I don't know why. Fall Out Boy did the same thing. But that's okay. I don't know. It's not. It can't compare to Fall Out Boy, and it certainly can't compare to the original. So, but it's okay, I guess. Anyway, I'm gonna give it a light 7. I'm obviously biased. I love this band. It's my favorite band, and it got me through a lot of like kind of hard times. So, um, yeah, that's the end of the album review. Make sure to check back in because we do reviews every day, at least as much as we possibly can. Um, I will try to, yeah, daily uploads. I'm gonna try to continue that throughout. Um, yeah, this was Pierce the Veil, a Flair for the Dramatic album review. Hope you guys enjoyed. Subscribe, like the video. I'll see you guys in the next one. Goodbye.